Captain Mark Thompson stood at the main viewport of the Earth Coalition vessel Horizon, staring into the vast emptiness of space. His weathered face reflected in the reinforced glass as the ship cruised at the edge of our solar system. After 15 years of space exploration, Mark thought he had seen everything the cosmos had to offer. He was wrong. "Captain, you need to see this." The voice of Emma Davis, the ship's sensor specialist, crackled over the intercom. Her usually calm tone carried an edge that made Mark straighten his back. "On my way," he replied, making his way to the bridge with quick, practiced steps. When he arrived, the entire bridge crew sat frozen at their stations, eyes fixed on the main display. Mark followed their gaze and felt his breath catch in his throat. A massive ship hung against the backdrop of stars. It was unlike anything humans had ever built, sleek and silvery with strange geometric patterns covering its hull. It measured at least 5 miles from end to end, dwarfing the horizon like a whale next to a minnow. "How did it get so close without us noticing?" Mark asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma shook her head. "It just appeared, sir. One moment there was nothing, the next—" She gestured helplessly at the screen. Jack Wilson, the communications officer, suddenly jumped in his seat. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's not using any Earth protocols, but somehow our systems are translating it." Mark swallowed hard. First contact. This was the moment every space explorer dreamed of but secretly feared. Put it through. The main screen flickered and an alien face appeared. The creature had smooth blue-gray skin, large eyes with vertical pupils, and no visible nose. When it spoke, its thin mouth barely moved, but the voice that came through the speakers was clear and precise. "Greetings, vessel of Earth. We are the Viren Collective. We come in peace and observation." Mark stepped forward, shoulders squared. "This is Captain Mark Thompson of the Earth Coalition vessel Horizon. We welcome you to our solar system and extend friendship on behalf of humanity." The alien blinked slowly. "We have been monitoring your civilization from afar. The time has come for closer assessment. We request permission to send a small delegation to your vessel for preliminary contact." After a quick conference with Earth Command, who were both excited and cautious about the development, Mark granted permission. The bridge crew watched in amazement as a small shuttle detached from the massive alien ship and approached the horizon. Dr. Lisa Reed, the ship's chief exobiologist, met Mark at the docking bay. Her eyes shone with barely contained excitement. "Can you believe it, Captain? Actual aliens. My whole career has been leading to this moment." She clutched her tablet tightly, ready to record every detail. Mark placed a calming hand on her shoulder. "Remember protocol, Doctor. Friendly but cautious." The airlock cycled open, and 3 aliens stepped aboard. They wore form-fitting suits that covered their entire bodies with transparent helmets revealing their blue-gray faces. Each carried a small device that blinked with colorful lights. Mark stepped forward with a practiced smile. "Welcome aboard the Horizon." The tallest alien inclined its head. "I am Delegate Vex of the Viren Collective. These are my associates, Science Officer Marn and Cultural Observer Prell." Its voice came through a translator device at its throat. "We appreciate your hospitality. We've prepared a conference room for our meeting," Mark said, gesturing down the corridor. "If you'll follow me." As they walked, Lisa studied the aliens with professional interest. Despite their humanoid shape, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, the differences were fascinating. They moved with a fluid grace, almost gliding rather than walking. In the conference room, Mark introduced key members of his crew: Lisa, Security Chief Robert Brown, and his second-in-command, Commander Anna Patel. "We've prepared information about Earth and humanity for your review," Anna said, sliding a data tablet across the table. Vex regarded it without touching it. "We prefer to use our own devices for data collection." He placed one of their blinking devices on the table. It projected a holographic display that rotated slowly in the air. "This will passively scan your vessel and record our conversation." Robert tensed slightly, his security training kicking in. "What exactly are you scanning for?" "Standard environmental and biological data," Science Officer Marn replied. Her voice was higher pitched than Vex's, almost musical. It is protocol for all first contacts. The meeting proceeded with exchanges of basic information, star charts, historical timelines, and cultural overviews. The Varans explained they were part of a vast galactic community that monitored developing spacefaring civilizations. Your species has advanced remarkably quickly, Vex noted. From primitive flight to interplanetary travel in less than 2 centuries. We're curious by nature, Mark replied with a slight smile. Throughout the meeting, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. She noticed how the aliens kept their distance from all the humans, how they flinched almost imperceptibly when anyone moved too quickly, and most curiously, they remained in their environmental suits despite scans showing the ship's atmosphere should be perfectly safe for their biology, based on the data they'd shared. When there was a brief pause in the conversation, Lisa leaned forward. If I may ask, why do you continue to wear your environmental protection? Our preliminary analysis suggests our atmosphere wouldn't harm you. The 3 Varans exchanged quick glances, a movement so subtle Lisa almost missed it. Standard protocol for first contact situations, Vex answered smoothly. We maintain isolation until full biological compatibility is confirmed. Lisa nodded, but her scientific instincts told her there was more to it. She made a note to review the atmospheric data again. The meeting continued for another hour before Vex suddenly stood. We have collected sufficient preliminary data. We must return to our vessel to process this information. Mark frowned at the abrupt end to the meeting. Of course. But we hope to continue our discussions. There's so much we can learn from each other. Indeed, Vex replied, though his tone had cooled noticeably. We will contact you again once our analysis is complete. As they escorted the aliens back to the airlock, Lisa pulled Mark aside. Captain, something's not right. Their reaction when I mentioned their suits, I noticed, Mark muttered. And did you see how their scanner started blinking faster when they passed the oxygen recycling station? Before Lisa could respond, they reached the airlock where the aliens were already boarding their shuttle. Vex turned back briefly. Until we meet again, Captain Thompson. There was something in his voice. Was it concern? Fear? The shuttle departed, returning to the massive ship looming in the distance. On the bridge, the crew watched as the alien vessel suddenly began to move, accelerating away from Earth at incredible speed. They're leaving? Anna asked, confused. Just like that? Mark's eyes narrowed as he watched the retreating ship. No, Commander, I don't think they're leaving. He pointed to the ship's energy readings on the display. They're powering up something big and they're transmitting massive data packets toward the center of the galaxy. What does it mean, Captain? Emma asked. Mark's expression darkened. I don't know, but something we did or said spooked them, and I have a feeling we're going to find out what it was sooner than we'd like. Back on the Varan vessel, Science Officer Marn burst into the command center, her environmental suit already removed as she clutched a datapad with trembling hands. Hi, Commander. You must see this analysis immediately. Her voice shook with panic. The humans, their entire planet, it's beyond anything we could have imagined. The High Commander took the pad, his eyes widening as he read. This can't be possible. He looked up, genuine fear in his eyes for the first time in his long career. Sound the evacuation alarm. We must leave this system immediately and warn the collective. The alarm echoed through the massive ship as it accelerated away from Earth, leaving behind a confused humanity, completely unaware that they had just been classified as the most dangerous species in the known galaxy. The Viran vessel tore through space, pushing its engines beyond safe limits. Inside the command center, High Commander Lorne reviewed the scan data for the 5th time, hoping he had somehow misunderstood. The results remained the same. This cannot be real, he muttered, his blue-gray skin paling to an ashy white. An entire civilization breathing oxygen? Science Officer Marn nodded, her hands still trembling. The scans are clear, Commander. Their atmosphere is approximately 21% oxygen. They don't just tolerate it, they require it to live. For the Virans, whose chlorine-based biology made oxygen highly toxic and corrosive, this revelation was horrifying. In their experience, oxygen was used primarily as an industrial oxidizer or weapon component, never as a life support element. Look. At these readings, Marn continued, pointing to the scan of a human. The oxygen doesn't just surround them. It flows through their blood vessels, saturates their tissues. They are literally filled with it. Medical Officer Jal, who had joined the emergency meeting, shook his head in disbelief. Such biology should be impossible, unless... Unless what? Commander Lorne demanded. Unless they were engineered as living weapons, Jal finished quietly. A species designed to survive in conditions that would kill any normal life form. A heavy silence fell over the command center. The implications were terrifying. If humans could not only survive but thrive while carrying a highly reactive gas in their bodies, what other deadly adaptations might they possess? We must warn them, collective immediately, Lorne decided. Prepare a full report with all scan data. Mark this system as extremely hazardous. As the Viran ship accelerated toward the jump point that would allow them to send a faster-than-light message to their homeworld, the humans they left behind remained completely unaware of the terrible misunderstanding that had just occurred. 3. Days after the Viran's abrupt departure, the crew of the Horizon remained puzzled. Captain Mark Thompson sat in his office reviewing the footage of the alien visit for what felt like the 100th time. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. "Enter," he called. Dr. Lisa Reed walked in, carrying her tablet. Dark circles under her eyes suggested she'd been sleeping as little as he had. "Any breakthroughs?" Mark asked, gesturing for her to sit. Lisa shook her head. "Not exactly, but I've been analyzing the readings we got from their scanner device. It was collecting atmospheric data, but with a strange focus on oxygen levels." "Oxygen?" Mark frowned. "What's special about oxygen?" "I'm not sure," Lisa admitted. "But I noticed their scanner activity spiked when they passed our life support systems and again when they were near any crew members. It's almost as if..." She paused, trying to find the right words. "As if our oxygen was of particular interest to them." Before Mark could respond, his communication panel beeped. "Captain, this is Wilson in communications. We've detected another massive data burst from the alien vessel. They're transmitting toward the same coordinates as before." "On my way," Mark responded, standing quickly. He gave Lisa a concerned look. "Whatever spooked them, they're still very interested in us." On the bridge, the crew had gathered around the main sensor display. Jack Wilson pointed to a series of energy spikes on his screen. "The aliens are at the edge of our sensor range, but they're generating enormous power. These readings suggest they've activated some kind of faster-than-light communication array." Jake Wells, the military intelligence analyst who had been added to the crew after the alien encounter, studied the data with narrowed eyes. "They're sending a lot of information about us to someone. The question is, what are they saying? And to whom?" Mark added grimly. "Captain," Emma called from her station, "Earth Command is requesting an update. They want to know if we've re-established contact with the aliens." Mark sighed. "Tell them no contact, but we're monitoring unusual communication activity and request permission to remain at our current position rather than returning to Earth. I want to see if the aliens come back." As days turned into weeks with no sign of the Virans, Earth grew increasingly anxious. The brief alien encounter had sparked a mix of excitement and fear across the planet. Some saw it as the dawn of a new era of interstellar cooperation. Others warned of potential threats from beyond the stars. The Horizon maintained its vigil at the edge of the solar system, joined now by 3 additional Earth vessels. Together they formed a small but watchful outpost, humanity's first line of both welcome and defense. 6 months after first contact, Science Officer Marn stood nervously before the Viran High Council. Behind her, High Commander Lorne waited silently, his career and reputation hanging on her presentation. "The evidence is conclusive," Marn explained, showing holographic images of human physiology. "These humans not only survive in an oxygen-rich environment, but have evolved to require it. Their blood cells actively transport oxygen throughout their bodies. What would be deadly poison to us is their life essence. The 7 council members exchanged troubled glances. Could this be natural? Evolution, asked one elderly counselor. Marn hesitated. It's theoretically possible, but highly improbable. In all our centuries of space exploration, we've never encountered a species with such extreme biochemistry. What are you suggesting, science officer? The head counselor's voice was sharp. There are 2 possibilities, Marn replied carefully. Either they evolved naturally in conditions we would consider lethal, or, she took a deep breath, or they were engineered as biological weapons by some ancient civilization. Murmurs rippled through the council chamber. Their technology is advancing rapidly, Commander Lorne added. They've moved from primitive atmospheric flight to space exploration in less than 2 centuries. Such acceleration is unprecedented. The head counselor looked grim. And if they were to discover worlds with chlorine atmospheres like ours? They would likely view our worlds as targets for colonization, Lorne stated. Our atmosphere would eliminate their need for oxygen production facilities. They could simply release their poison into our air and wait for us to die. After hours of debate, the council reached its decision. A fleet would be dispatched to the human solar system, not for peaceful contact, but to establish a quarantine perimeter. The oxygen-breathing humans would be contained until the collective could determine how to neutralize the threat they posed. What the Virans couldn't understand was that humans were just as natural as they were, simply evolved under completely different conditions. What they saw as a weapon was simply a different path of evolution. Back on the horizon, the sensor alert blared without warning. Emma's fingers flew across her console as she tried to process the readings. "Captain," she called, her voice tight with urgency. "Multiple objects just appeared at the edge of our detection range. Big ones." Mark rushed to the bridge, Lisa close behind him. The main screen showed at least 12 massive shapes where empty space had been moments before. "Configuration?" Mark demanded. "Similar to the vessel we encountered 6 months ago, but these appear to be different." Emma looked up, her face pale. "Based on their energy signatures and structure, they appear to be warships, sir." The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. "Open a channel," Mark ordered. "All frequencies." Jack tried repeatedly, but received no response. "They're ignoring us, Captain." The alien ships moved with precise coordination, beginning to spread out in a formation that would effectively block the route between Earth and the rest of the galaxy. "They're not here for friendly contact," Jake said quietly. "They're setting up a blockade." Mark watched as more ships continued to appear, their numbers growing by the minute. "Send an emergency message to Earth Command. All ships on full alert." "Status." He turned to Lisa, who looked as shocked as everyone else. "Doctor, whatever you discovered about their interest in oxygen, I think we need to figure it out fast, because I'm starting to think our visitors see something in us that terrifies them." Little did they know that what the Virans feared most was the very air humans breathed, the dangerous life support that was about to trigger an interstellar war based on nothing more than a tragic misunderstanding. The situation at the edge of Earth's solar system grew tenser with each passing hour. 23 Viran warships now formed a blockade, their weapons charged, but not yet firing. On Earth, panic spread as news of the alien fleet reached the public. Admiral James Blackwell of Earth Defense Command stared at the holographic display showing the alien positions. Around him, military leaders from around the world argued about how to respond. "We should strike first," insisted General Harris of the North American Alliance. "Show them we won't be intimidated." "And start an interstellar war we cannot win?" countered the Chinese representative, General Wu. "Their technology is clearly superior to ours." Admiral Blackwell raised his hand for silence. "Before we make any decisions, let's hear from the people who actually met these aliens." He nodded to the screen where Captain Mark Thompson and Dr. Lisa Reed waited from aboard the Horizon. "Captain Thompson, in your opinion, why have the Virans returned with a battle fleet?" Mark looked tired but composed. "Sir, we still don't know for certain. They've ignored all attempts at communication, but Dr. Reed has developed a theory." Lisa stepped forward. "After analyzing data from our first contact, I believe the Virans may have fundamentally misunderstood something about human biology. Their scanners showed unusual interest in our oxygen levels. Oxygen? Blackwell frowned. What's significant about oxygen? I wasn't sure until recently, Lisa explained. But we managed to recover fragments of the environmental suit one of the Virans was wearing. The material analysis was fascinating. It's designed specifically to prevent any contact with oxygen molecules. To them, oxygen appears to be highly toxic, General Harris scoffed. So they're afraid of the air we breathe? That's ridiculous. Not to them, Lisa insisted. If their biology evolved using chlorine instead of oxygen, which is entirely possible, then our atmosphere would be as deadly to them as chlorine gas would be to us. A thoughtful silence fell over the command center. You're suggesting this blockade is based on a misunderstanding? Admiral Blackwell asked. I believe they see us as dangerous because we survive in what they consider a toxic environment, Lisa nodded. Possibly even as a threat to their worlds. Mark added, we need to find a way to communicate this mutual misunderstanding before things escalate further. Before Admiral Blackwell could respond, alarms blared across the command center. Sir, one of our patrol ships near Neptune has opened fire on a Viran scout vessel, a communications officer reported. Mark's face paled. Who authorized weapons? Release? No one, sir, the officer replied. Captain Rogers of the Defiant reports the alien ship was scanning their life support systems and he interpreted it as an attack preparation. Admiral Blackwell closed his eyes briefly. And so it begins. High Commander Lorne received the report with grim satisfaction. The humans have fired the first shot just as expected. Their aggressive nature confirms our worst fears. The scout ship was merely conducting atmospheric analysis, Science Officer Marn pointed out. They might have misinterpreted. It doesn't matter, Lorne cut her off. The Council has authorized full containment measures. The humans cannot be allowed to spread through the galaxy, carrying their poisonous biology with them. He turned to his weapons officer. Target their patrol vessels first. Minimal damage. I want prisoners for study. Across the vacuum of space, blue energy beams lanced out from 3 Viran warships, striking the human vessels with surgical precision. The Defiant lost engine power immediately. 2 other patrol ships managed to return fire before being disabled. The first battle between humans and aliens had begun, a battle founded entirely on a biological misunderstanding. On Earth, military forces worldwide went on high alert. Fighter squadrons launched, nuclear weapons were readied, and civilians crowded into emergency shelters. The planet prepared for possible invasion, unaware that the Virans had no interest in their world, only in containing what they saw as a biological threat. Aboard the Horizon, now functioning as a forward command post, Mark received emergency authorization to attempt communication with the Viran fleet. We're broadcasting on all frequencies and in the format they used during first contact, Jack Wilson reported. But they're not responding. Keep trying, Mark ordered. And patch me through to Dr. Reed in the lab. Lisa appeared on his screen, surrounded by equipment and looking exhausted. Captain, I've made progress. The recovered Viran suit fragments contain compounds that react violently with oxygen. Their entire biology must be based on entirely different chemical processes than ours. Can you use this to prove we're not a threat to them? If I could directly show them how our different biologies evolved naturally, maybe. Lisa ran a hand through her tangled hair. But I need more information about their physiology, preferably a living specimen. Mark frowned. That won't be easy given the current. An explosion rocked the ship, cutting off his words. The lights flickered as emergency systems engaged. Status. Report, Mark shouted as he steadied himself. Direct hit to our starboard section, Anna Patel reported from the bridge. Shields holding at 62%. 3 Viran vessels approaching. Mark rushed to the bridge where view screens showed the battle unfolding across the solar system. Earth ships were being systematically disabled, though the aliens seemed to be avoiding destroying them entirely. They're capturing our vessels, Jake Wells noted, studying the tactical display. Taking prisoners. Or specimens, Lisa said as she joined them on the bridge. If they think we're biological weapons, they'll want to study us. Another blast hit the horizon, stronger than the first. Sparks flew from a nearby console. "Shields at 37%, Anna reported grimly. "We can't take another hit like that." Mark made a quick decision. "Set course for Earth, maximum speed. We need to deliver Dr. Reed's findings to command before we're captured." As the horizon turned and accelerated toward Earth, the Viren ships followed in pursuit. The game of cat and mouse through the outer solar system gave the humans precious time. Time that Lisa used to finalize her research and prepare a comprehensive report on the biological misunderstanding at the heart of the conflict. But even as the horizon raced homeward, the Viren fleet commander implemented the next phase of their containment plan. From 5 of their largest vessels, smaller objects were deployed, speeding toward Earth with single-minded purpose. "Captain, we're detecting multiple launches from the alien fleet," Emma reported, her voice tight with concern. "Trajectory analysis shows they're heading for major population centers on Earth." "Nuclear defense systems?" Mark asked. Jake shook his head. "The objects are too small and fast for current Earth defenses to track effectively." Lisa looked up from her data analysis, her face pale. "If they truly believe our oxygen atmosphere makes us dangerous, those could be weapons designed to target our air." "Explain," Mark demanded. "Antimatter bombs," Lisa said quietly. "Designed to ignite our atmosphere. They don't want to invade Earth. They want to neutralize what they see as a biological threat." The bridge fell silent as the horrifying possibility sank in. A simple misunderstanding about different evolutionary paths was about to escalate into genocide. Mark's jaw tightened as he made the hardest decision of his career. "Change of plans. We're not running away." He turned to Anna. "Set an intercept course for the nearest Viren command ship." "Sir?" Anna looked confused. "If we can't talk to them from a distance, we'll force a face-to-face meeting." Mark's eyes were steel as he looked at his crew. "Dr. Reed needs a live Viren to prove her theory, and Earth needs us to stop those weapons. It's time for a direct approach." As the horizon changed course and accelerated toward the heart of the alien fleet, its crew prepared for what might be humanity's last desperate attempt to prevent extinction at the hands of aliens who feared the very air that gave humans life. The horizon raced toward the Viren command ship, engines straining beyond safe limits. On the bridge, Captain Mark Thompson watched the distance closing between his vessel and the massive alien warship. "They've detected our approach," Anna reported. "3 interceptors breaking formation to engage us." Mark nodded grimly. "Evasive pattern Delta. We need to reach their command vessel." He turned to Commander Alex Rivera, who had joined the mission specifically for this desperate gambit. "Is your team ready?" Alex, a compact man with determined eyes and a reputation as Earth's best tactical officer, gave a crisp nod. 6 volunteers, all armed with non-lethal weapons and wearing the modified environmental suits Dr. Reed designed. "Remember, we need live specimens," Mark emphasized. "No killing unless absolutely necessary." On the tactical display, the 3 Viren interceptors closed rapidly. Blue energy beams lanced out, narrowly missing the horizon as Anna executed a series of sharp maneuvers. "Return. Fire," Mark ordered. "Target their weapon systems only." The horizon's lasers struck the lead interceptor, causing it to veer off course. The other 2 continued their pursuit, firing continuously. "Shields at 28%, Jack reported. "One more direct hit and we're done." "Route emergency power to the engines," Mark commanded. "We need more speed." The horizon surged forward, closing the gap to the Viren command ship. The massive vessel loomed ahead, easily 20 times the size of the human ship. "They're powering up their main weapons array," Emma warned. "We have 30 seconds before they can fire." Mark pressed the ship-wide communicator. "All hands brace for impact. Boarding team to launch bay." In the ship's laboratory, Lisa sealed her specialized environmental suit and grabbed her equipment case. The suit was designed to protect her from possible chlorine exposure while allowing the Virens to see her human form clearly. Inside the case were the tools she hoped would save humanity, evidence of Earth's natural evolution and the misunderstanding at the heart of the conflict. "Dr. Reed, we need you in the launch bay now." Alex's voice came through her communicator. Lisa hurried through the corridors, passing crew members securing equipment and preparing for possible hull breaches. When she reached the launch bay, Alex and his team were already aboard the boarding shuttle, a small craft designed for short-range transport between ships. Once we breach their hull, we'll have minutes at most before their security forces respond. Alex briefed the team as Lisa strapped in. Our primary objective is to capture a VRAN officer alive and secure a communication terminal. The ship shuddered violently as a VRAN weapon found its mark. Hull breach on Deck 3, Anna's voice announced over the intercom. Boarding team, launch, now! The shuttle bay doors opened to the vacuum of space and Alex fired the thrusters. The small craft shot out from the horizon just as another energy beam struck the larger ship, sending it spinning. The horizon is disabled, Alex reported, grimly as they watched their ship go dark. We're on our own now. He guided the shuttle toward the VRAN command ship, taking advantage of the chaos of battle to approach undetected. Using scanning data collected during the engagement, Alex identified a potential entry point, a secondary docking port used. For maintenance, prepare for hard dock, he warned as he aligned the shuttle. Breach charges ready. The shuttle clamped onto the VRAN ship's hull with a metallic thud. Seconds later, shaped charges blew a hole through the alien vessel's outer layer. Warning alarms immediately blared inside the VRAN ship. Move, Alex ordered, leading the team through the breach and into the alien corridor. The atmosphere inside was different, denser, and with a greenish tinge. Lisa's instruments immediately began analyzing the composition. High chlorine content, she confirmed. Just as I suspected. Two startled VRAN crew members appeared at the end of the corridor, their blue-gray skin paling at the sight of the humans. They reached for weapons, but Alex fired first, hitting them with stun projectiles. The VRANs collapsed to the deck. Secure them, Alex ordered. Two team members rushed forward to bind the unconscious aliens. Lisa knelt beside one of the fallen VRANs, scanning it with her instruments. Their biology is fascinating. Chlorine is indeed their equivalent of our oxygen. They actually breathe it. Can you use that to prove we're not a threat? Alex asked, keeping watch down the corridor. I need access to their medical database. Or a lab, Lisa replied. And a conscious VRAN to communicate with. The team moved deeper into the ship, encountering surprisingly little resistance. Most of the crew seemed to be avoiding them. They're afraid of us, one team member observed. They're literally running away. They think we're toxic, Lisa explained. Our oxygen-rich bodies probably terrify them. After several tense minutes of navigating alien corridors, the team found what appeared to be a research center. Inside, a lone VRAN was frantically gathering data crystals. Alex moved swiftly, cutting off the alien's escape route. Don't move, Melarsh, he said, though he knew the VRAN likely couldn't understand him without a translator. The alien froze, its vertical pupils dilating with fear. Unlike the others they'd encountered, this one wore markings that suggested higher rank or specialization. Lisa stepped forward, her hands raised to show she meant no harm. She pointed to herself and said slowly, human, friend, not weapon. The VRAN stared at her, then reached slowly for a device on a nearby console. When Alex tensed, the alien made a gesture that seemed calming. I think it wants to communicate, Lisa said. The VRAN activated the device, which projected a field of light between them. When it spoke, its words were translated into rough English. You are not killing everyone? Why have oxygen carriers boarded our vessel? Lisa felt a surge of hope. To talk, to explain. We are not weapons. We evolved naturally. The VRAN scientist, for that seemed to be its role, tilted its head skeptically. Impossible. Oxygen is deadly poison. To you, Lisa agreed, but not to us. Just as chlorine is poison to us, but life to you. She opened her case and projected images of Earth's evolutionary timeline, showing how oxygen-based life had developed over billions of years. See? Natural evolution. Different paths, not engineered weapons. The VRAN studied the data with obvious shock. This contradicts our assumption. But why attack our scout ships? Misunderstanding, Alex explained. We thought you were scanning to attack. You thought we were dangerous because of our biology. The alarm suddenly blared throughout the ship. The Viran looked up with obvious distress. What is it? Lisa asked urgently. Atmospheric conversion weapons, the Viran replied. Launched toward your world, designed to neutralize oxygen threat. Lisa's heart raced. You have to stop them. Billions will die. We're not a threat, just different. The Viran hesitated, clearly. I am Kel, senior biological researcher. I cannot stop the weapons, only the High Commander can. Then take us to the High Commander, Alex demanded. Kel's vertical pupils contracted. The High Commander will not listen. Your presence here confirms his belief that humans are aggressive and dangerous. Then help us prove we're not, Lisa pleaded. The evidence is clear. 2 different evolutionary paths, both natural, both valid. Kel studied Lisa's data again. Scientific curiosity clearly battling with fear and prejudice. Finally, the alien nodded. I will help you reach the command center, but I cannot guarantee the High Commander will listen. As they followed Kel through the ship's corridors, Lisa couldn't help but reflect on the tragic irony of their situation. 2 intelligent species, each evolved to breathe what was poison to the other, now on the brink of war because of that simple biological difference. On the ship's main display, the antimatter weapons continued their deadly course toward Earth, carrying destruction born of fear and misunderstanding. The countdown to global catastrophe ticked relentlessly downward, while humanity's fate rested on the slim hope of convincing an alien commander that different didn't mean dangerous. How much time do we have? Alex asked as they hurried through the alien ship. The weapons will reach your atmosphere in 47 minutes, Kel replied. After that, nothing can stop the reaction. Mark's voice came through suddenly on their communicators, surprising everyone. Thompson to boarding team. The Horizon is back online. What's your status? We've made contact and have a potential ally, Alex reported. But we need to reach the command center to stop the weapons. Understood, Mark replied. We're detecting multiple Viran ships breaking formation and moving to intercept the weapons. Looks like not everyone agrees with this attack. Lisa felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps rationality and scientific understanding still had a chance to prevent catastrophe, if only they could reach the right people in time. Time was running out as Lisa, Alex, and their unlikely ally Kel hurried through the winding corridors of the Viran command ship. Twice they had to hide from security patrols, precious minutes ticking away while the antimatter weapons sped toward Earth. 35 minutes remaining, Kel informed them, checking a device on his wrist. The command center is 2 levels up. They reached an elevator-like platform that Kel activated with a wave of his hand. As they ascended, Lisa reviewed her presentation one final time. Everything depended on her ability to convince the Viran High Commander that humans were not biological weapons but simply a different form of life. The platform stopped, and they stepped into a wide corridor lined with armed guards. The guards immediately raised their weapons when they spotted the humans. Wait! Kel moved in front of Lisa and Alex, addressing the guards in the musical language of the Virans. These humans must speak with High Commander Lorne. It concerns the atmospheric weapons. The guards hesitated, their fear of the oxygen-breathing humans visible in their body language. Finally, one spoke into a communication device. After a tense moment, the guard nodded. The High Commander will see you, Kel translated. But your weapons must stay here. Alex reluctantly surrendered his stun gun, and the team was escorted through massive doors into the command center. A vast circular room filled with holographic displays and busy Viran officers. At the center stood a tall Viran with elaborate markings on his blue-gray skin. High Commander Lorne turned as they entered, his vertical pupils narrowing to slits at the sight of humans on his bridge. What is the meaning of this? He demanded, his words translated by the device Kel carried. Why have you brought these dangerous creatures into my command center? Kel stepped forward. High Commander, I believe we have made a grave mistake. These humans are not the weapons we thought them to be. Explain quickly, Lorne ordered, glancing at a countdown displayed prominently on the main screen. The purification weapons will reach their target in 30 minutes. Lisa took a deep breath and activated her own presentation device. High Commander, My name is Dr. Lisa Reed. I am a scientist like Kel. We have discovered the source of our misunderstanding. She projected images of Earth's evolutionary timeline, showing the development of oxygen-rich atmospheres and the life forms that evolved to use it. Humans breathe oxygen because our planet developed that way naturally over billions of years, just as your species evolved to breathe chlorine. She displayed comparative images of human and Viran biology side by side. Different, but both natural. Neither of us is a weapon. We are simply products of our environments. Lorne studied the data, his expression unreadable. This could be deception. How do we know you were not engineered by some ancient enemy to invade chlorine worlds? Because we had no idea chlorine-breathing life existed until we met you, Alex interjected. We were as surprised by your biology as you were by ours. Lisa added, if we wanted to harm you, why would we board your vessel with peaceful intent? Why would we be trying to stop this war? Before Lorne could answer, a Viran officer approached urgently. High Commander, 3 of our ships have moved to intercept the weapons without authorization. They are led by Science Overseer Marn. Lorne's face darkened. Open communication. A holographic screen appeared, showing a female Viran whose markings identified her as a high-ranking science officer. Marn, explain your actions, Lorne demanded. High Commander, I cannot allow this genocide, Marn replied firmly. Our preliminary analysis supports what these humans claim. Their oxygen use appears to be the result of divergent evolution, not artificial engineering. You would betray your own people based on a theory? Lorne challenged. I would prevent us from becoming murderers based on a misunderstanding, Marn countered. As scientists, we must follow evidence, not fear. Lisa sensed an opportunity and stepped forward. Commander Lorne, I propose a test. If I remove my helmet in this chlorine atmosphere, it would poison me, just as your people would be poisoned by oxygen. This proves neither of us designed our biology as a weapon. We're simply different. No, Kel moved to stop her. The exposure would kill you. Not immediately, Lisa said, and it would prove our point. Lorne raised his hand. That will not be necessary, human scientist. He studied the countdown timer, now showing 25 minutes. Even if what you say is true, the weapons cannot be recalled once launched. Then let us help you intercept them, Alex urged. Our ships could work together. Lorne hesitated, generations of caution warring with the scientific evidence before him. The risk is too great. If you are wrong about your own nature, then test us, Lisa interrupted. To everyone's shock, she reached up and unsealed her helmet, lifting it just enough to take a small breath of the chlorine-rich atmosphere before Alex forced it back down. She immediately began coughing violently, her eyes watering as the chlorine burned her lungs, but she stayed standing, facing Lorne through her tears. See? She gasped between coughs. Poison, to me, just as oxygen is to you. Neither weapon, just different. Lorne stared at her with what might have been respect. You risked your life to make your point, to save billions. Lisa managed, still struggling to breathe properly. A tense silence filled the command center, broken only by Lisa's labored breathing. Finally, Lorne turned to his officers. Order all ships to assist in intercepting the weapons. Priority 1, the command center burst into activity as orders were relayed. On the main display, they watched as Viran and human ships coordinated their efforts, targeting the deadly weapons speeding toward Earth. Will they make it in time? Alex asked, supporting Lisa, who was still recovering from her chlorine exposure. Some of the weapons will likely reach your atmosphere, Lorne admitted, but perhaps not enough to cause global devastation. For the next 20 minutes, they watched the desperate space battle unfold. One by one, the antimatter weapons were destroyed, some by Viran ships, others by Earth's defenders who had been joined by the recovered Horizon. When the countdown reached 0, 3 weapons remained. They plunged into Earth's atmosphere, detonating over remote ocean areas. The explosions were visible from space, bright flashes of light followed by massive clouds as the antimatter reacted with oxygen. But the chain reaction the Virans had feared did not occur. The concentration was insufficient, Kell observed. Your planet is safe. The tension in the command center eased slightly, though uncertainty remained in the air. What happens now? Alex asked. Lorne turned to face them. Now we must re-examine everything we thought we knew about biology in this galaxy. If two such different forms of life can evolve naturally, how many others might exist? 3 months later, Captain Mark Thompson stood beside Dr. Lisa Reed in a specially constructed meeting chamber on the moon. The room was divided by a transparent barrier, one side filled with Earth's oxygen atmosphere, the other with the chlorine, mix the Virans needed to breathe. On the human side, Earth's leaders waited nervously. On the Viran side, High Commander Lorne and Science Overseer Marn led their delegation. The Galactic Biological Coexistence Treaty, Lisa murmured, looking at the document displayed on screens on both sides of the barrier. I never thought I'd see this day. Mark smiled at her. You made it possible. Your willingness to risk your life convinced them we weren't the monsters they feared. We both made mistakes, Lisa admitted. They assumed our biology made us weapons. We assumed their actions made them aggressors. Both assumptions nearly led to disaster. As the human and Viran leaders began signing the treaty, a document acknowledging the natural evolution of both species and establishing protocols for peaceful contact between biologically incompatible civilizations, Lisa couldn't help but reflect on how close they had come to destruction. The war that began with an evacuation alarm, triggered by the simple act of scanning what one species considered dangerous life support, had ended with a profound new understanding. In the vast diversity of the universe, what gave life to one being might be poison to another. But difference didn't have to mean danger. It could also mean opportunity, for growth, for discovery, and for a richer understanding of life itself in all its wondrous varieties. As the ceremony concluded, human and Viran scientists gathered on their respective sides of the barrier, already sharing ideas for joint research projects and exchanging data about their worlds. The fear that had nearly destroyed them was being transformed into curiosity, and the misunderstanding that had nearly led to genocide was giving way to mutual respect. You know, Mark said quietly, watching the scientists excitedly comparing notes. Sometimes I think we're at our best when we're faced with our worst. Lisa nodded, watching as Kell used a translator device to explain something to a group of fascinated human biologists. The Virans have a saying, understanding begins when fear ends. I think we're finally ready to understand each other. In the airless void of the moon, two species who breathed poison to each other had found something far more important than biological compatibility. They had found common ground. The massive chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy. 47 different alien species sat in their floating seats, all eyes focused on the tall, blue-skinned centauri at the center podium. Ambassador Thek's forearms trembled slightly as he held the datapad that would change everything. Fellow council members, Thek began, his voice echoing through the vast space. What I am about to share will shock you all. The humans, they are not what we thought they were. On the research station Meridian, Dr. Elena Brooks was having her morning coffee when the emergency alert flashed across her screen. She nearly dropped her cup when she read the subject line. Urgent, human reclassification. All stations report immediately. Elena was one of the few humans working in deep space research. For 3 years, she had been studying alien biology alongside her colleagues from dozens of different worlds. She had always felt welcome among them. But now, something had changed. Computer, display message, she said, her voice shaky. The hologram appeared in front of her, showing the official seal of the Galactic Council. Elena read the words twice before they sank in. By unanimous decision of the Scientific Committee, human beings are hereby reclassified from sentient biological entities to Class 7 dangerous vessels. All humans in galactic space are to report to containment facilities immediately for assessment. Elena stared at the message. Class 7. Dangerous vessels? That category was reserved for things like unstable dark matter bombs and weaponized black holes. How could humans possibly fit into that classification? Across the galaxy, Captain James Wright was enjoying a quiet meal in his ship's dining hall when the alarm started blaring. The Pioneer was a small exploration vessel with a crew of 30 humans and 20 aliens from various species. "Captain, to the bridge immediately," came the urgent call over the intercom. James ran to the bridge where his alien first officer, a reptilian Vorthan named Kev, was staring at the scanner with wide eyes. "Sir, we have a problem," Kev said. 12 galactic enforcement ships just dropped out of hyperspace around us. They're demanding we prepare for boarding." "On what grounds?" James asked. Before Kev could answer, the main screen lit up with an incoming transmission. A stern-faced Centauri officer appeared on screen. "Captain Wright, by order of the Galactic Council, your vessel is now under quarantine. All human crew members are to be transferred to our containment ships immediately." "Containment ships?" James stood up from his captain's chair. "What's this about?" "Human consciousness has been classified as hazardous material, Captain. You and your crew pose a threat to galactic safety." James felt his blood run cold. "That's impossible. We've done nothing wrong." "The evidence suggests otherwise," the Centauri officer replied. "Prepare for boarding." Back at the Galactic Council, Ambassador Thek was presenting the evidence that had led to this dramatic decision. The holographic display showed dozens of incident reports from across the galaxy. "Consider the case of the mining accident on Kepler 442b, Thek said, his voice growing stronger. 15 human miners were trapped underground for 6 days. According to physics, they should have died within hours from lack of oxygen. Yet when rescue teams reached them, they found the miners alive and well in a pocket of breathable air that had somehow formed in solid rock. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Dr. Nix, a small, gray-skinned scientist from the Rigel system, raised one of his tentacles. "Surely that was just luck," Dr. Nix said. "Mining accidents sometimes create strange air pockets." "That's what we thought too," Thek replied, "until we analyzed the rock samples. The oxygen didn't come from any natural source. It appeared to have been created from nothing. The rock itself had been changed at the molecular level." Another hologram appeared, showing a frozen wasteland. "Then there's the incident on Europa Station," Thek continued. "A research team of 5 humans was caught in a blizzard that killed their power systems. Outside temperature, -200 degrees. They should have frozen to death in minutes. Instead, they survived for 12 hours until rescue arrived. Heat sensors showed their body temperatures remained normal throughout the ordeal, despite their suits having no power." The chamber fell silent. Dr. Vell, the Vorthon Council's top physicist, stood up slowly. "Ambassador Thek, are you suggesting that humans can somehow change the laws of physics?" "That's exactly what I'm suggesting," Thek replied. "But it gets worse. Show them the battlefield recordings from the Outer Rim conflict." New images filled the air above the chamber. They showed human soldiers in desperate combat situations fighting against impossible odds. "In every recorded case where human forces faced complete annihilation, something impossible happened," Thek explained. "Their weapons didn't run out of ammunition even when they should have. Their equipment worked perfectly despite being damaged beyond repair. Enemy targeting systems mysteriously failed at critical moments." Dr. Elena Brooks watched the same presentation from her station, feeling sick to her stomach. She recognized some of the incidents being discussed. She had written reports on several of them, always finding reasonable scientific explanations. But now, seeing them all together, a terrifying pattern emerged. "The most disturbing evidence," Thek continued, "comes from our own facilities. Humans working in our research stations show probability readings that are statistically impossible. They find solutions to problems they shouldn't be able to solve. They survive accidents that kill other species. They seem to bend reality around themselves." Captain James Wright was now sitting in a detention cell aboard one of the enforcement ships. Through the small window, he could see his beloved Pioneer being escorted away by alien cruisers. His cellmate was Tom Miller, a human trader who had been captured from another ship. Tom was pacing back and forth, angry and confused. "This is crazy," Tom said. "Dangerous vessels were just people." James stared out the window, thinking about everything he had experienced in his years of space travel. The lucky breaks, the times when his ship's systems worked better than they should have, the way problems seemed to solve themselves when things got desperate. "Maybe we're more than just people," James said quietly. Back at the council, the final piece of evidence was being presented. Dr. Vell took the podium, his scaled hands shaking. "Council members, I have spent months studying human brain patterns. What I found defies everything we know about consciousness and reality. Human minds don't just observe the universe, they interact with it on a quantum level. Every human thought creates tiny ripples in space-time. When humans face extreme danger, these ripples become waves, and waves can change things." The chamber erupted in frightened whispers. Ambassador Thek raised all forearms for silence. "The conclusion is unavoidable," he announced. "Humans are not just another sentient species. They are living weapons of reality manipulation. They don't even know they're doing it, which makes them even more dangerous. Every human is a walking probability storm, unconsciously altering the universe to ensure their survival." The vote was called. One by one, each species representative cast their decision. The result was unanimous. Humans would remain classified as Class 7 dangerous vessels until further study could determine how to contain or control their abilities. Dr. Elena Brooks turned off her screen and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, her entire species had just been declared too dangerous to exist freely in the galaxy. She didn't feel dangerous. She felt like Elena Brooks, a scientist who loved learning about alien cultures and exploring the mysteries of space. But deep in her heart, she knew the council might be right. Humans did seem to have unusual luck. They did survive things that should kill them. And if that was true, then everything was about to change. The age of human freedom in the BO galaxy had just ended. The age of human fear was about to begin. 3 weeks had passed since the official classification. Reports were flooding in from every corner of the galaxy, and each one made the situation worse. In the high-security archives of Luna Station, Lieutenant Kate Morgan sat surrounded by thousands of classified files, her face growing paler with each document she read. Kate had been assigned to review all human-related incidents from the past 50 years. What she was finding made her question everything she thought she knew about her own species. The first file made her hands shake. It was about a cargo ship called the Mary's Hope that had suffered complete engine failure in deep space. The crew of 8 humans should have died when their life support ran out after 3 days. But rescue ships found them alive and healthy after 2 weeks, somehow breathing normally in a ship that had no working air recyclers. "That's impossible," Kate whispered to herself. But the sensor readings were clear. The ship's oxygen levels had remained constant throughout the entire ordeal, despite having no functioning systems to maintain them. Meanwhile, on the mining colony of Kepler 4/42b, the investigation into the tunnel collapse was revealing even stranger details. Dr. Morris, a human geologist, was examining the rock formations where the 15 miners had survived. "Look at this," Dr. Morris said to his alien colleague, a 6-armed insectoid named Click. He pointed to crystalline structures, growing from the tunnel walls. "These formations shouldn't exist. The mineral composition is completely wrong for this type of rock." Click's compound eyes studied the crystals carefully. These appear to be some form of oxygen-producing matrix, but such structures cannot form naturally in this environment. "That's what I thought too," Dr. Morris replied. "But get this, the formations only exist in the exact area where the miners were trapped, nowhere else in the entire mine system." Back on Luna Station, Kate was reading about an even more disturbing case. A human child named Billy had been aboard a transport ship when a hull breach occurred. The 7-year-old boy had been sucked out into the vacuum of space through a hole in the ship's wall. In space, without a suit, death comes in seconds. But Billy had survived for 12 full minutes before rescue pods could reach him. Medical scans showed he should have died instantly from decompression, radiation, and freezing temperatures. Instead, He had somehow remained conscious and unharmed. The boy's cellular structure shows impossible adaptations, the medical report stated. His blood chemistry changed to function without oxygen. His skin developed temporary resistance to radiation. His body temperature remained stable despite exposure to absolute zero. Kate put down the file and rubbed her temples. Every case was the same pattern, humans facing certain death, then somehow changing the rules of reality to survive. On Europa Station, Commander Lisa Park was investigating another incident that had happened just days ago. A research team studying ice formations had fallen through the surface into an underground cavern. The 5 humans had been trapped 50 meters below the ice with no way to communicate with the surface. According to the rescue logs, Lisa told, her second-in-command, a tall blue Andorian named Vex. The team should have frozen to death within an hour. The cavern temperature was minus 40 degrees. But they survived for 18 hours, Vex replied, looking confused. How is this possible? Lisa checked her readings again. The thermal sensors show something incredible. The ice around the trapped humans actually started generating heat, not melting, generating thermal energy from nothing. The cavern became a warm pocket in the middle of a frozen moon. Far across the galaxy on the planet Rigel Prime, Dr. Vell was conducting his own research. The Vorthan physicist had been studying human brain patterns for months, and his latest discovery was keeping him awake at night. Computer, display the neural scan from Subject 12, he said to his lab's AI system. A holographic brain appeared in front of him, pulsing with electrical activity. But this wasn't like any brain scan Dr. Vell had ever seen. The human's neural patterns were creating visible distortions in the space around them. Subject 12 was placed in a sealed chamber with decreasing oxygen levels, Dr. Vell recorded in his notes. As the oxygen dropped to dangerous levels, the subject's brain activity changed dramatically. The neural patterns began creating quantum fluctuations that somehow converted carbon dioxide back into oxygen within the chamber. Dr. Vell switched to another scan. Subject 15 was given a fatal dose of radiation. Instead of dying, the subject's brain patterns began interfacing with the radioactive particles themselves, somehow neutralizing their harmful effects. The physicist leaned back in his chair, terrified by what he was discovering. Humans weren't just lucky survivors. They were unconscious reality manipulators. Back in his detention cell, Captain James Wright was making his own discoveries. He had been moved to a maximum security facility on Titan Station, along with hundreds of other captured humans. But strange things were happening even here. His cellmate, a former military officer named Steve Johnson, was telling him about the escape attempts that had been happening throughout the station. "It's the weirdest thing," Steve said. "Yesterday, a group of humans tried to break out of Section C. They had no tools, no weapons, nothing. But every single security door they approached somehow malfunctioned and opened for them." James raised an eyebrow. "Equipment failure?" That's what the guards thought too. Until it happened again, and again. Then the computer system started, having glitches that always seemed to help the human prisoners. Cell doors unlocking at just the right moment. Guard rotations being delayed by computer errors. It's like the station itself wants us to escape. Dr. Elena Brooks was experiencing similar phenomena at the research facility where she was being held. She had been placed in a laboratory setting where alien scientists could study her while she worked on basic research problems. "Dr. Brooks," said Dr. Zix, a small gray alien with large black eyes, "please solve this mathematical equation. It controls the life support system for this section." Elena looked at the equation on the screen. It was impossibly complex. The kind of math that would take supercomputers hours to solve. She had never seen anything like it before. "I can't solve this," she told Dr. Zix. "This is beyond my training." "Please try," Dr. Zix insisted. "The air recycling system depends on it." Elena stared at the equation, feeling frustrated and helpless. But as she looked at the numbers, something strange happened. The solution just appeared in her mind. Not through calculation or logic, but as if someone had whispered the answer directly into her thoughts. "The answer is 8473952, she said. Dr. Zix's eyes went wide. He quickly input the number into his computer. The equation balanced perfectly. How? Did you know that? Dr. Zix asked, his voice shaking. I don't know, Elena replied honestly. It just felt right. Later that night, Dr. Zix was reporting to his superiors via secure communication. The human subject solved a level 9 quantum mathematics problem in 30 seconds, he reported. She had no advanced mathematical training, no computer assistance. She simply knew the answer. How is this possible? Came the response from Dr. Vell on Rigel Prime. I believe the humans are accessing information that exists outside normal space-time, Dr. Zix replied. Their consciousness operates on quantum levels we cannot understand. They don't calculate solutions. They commune with the mathematical structure of reality itself. On the prison transport ship detention, human prisoners were being moved to a new high-security facility, but the ship's crew was reporting impossible problems. Control, this is Captain Rax. The Centauri captain spoke into his communicator. We're experiencing massive system failures. Navigation is offline, life support is malfunctioning, and weapons systems are completely dead. When did these failures begin? Came the response. Exactly when we loaded the human prisoners, Captain, Rax replied. It's as if their presence is causing our technology to break down. In the prisoner hold, Tom Miller was talking quietly with his fellow humans. Anyone else notice that the ship's problems always seem to work in our favor? He whispered. The locks on our cells keep failing. The guard schedules keep getting mixed up, and now the whole ship is falling apart. An older woman named Martha nodded. My grandmother always said humans have guardian angels. Maybe she was right, just not in the way she thought. Or maybe, said a young man named Rick, we're the angels, and we don't even know it. Dr. Vell was putting together his final report for the Galactic Council. The evidence was overwhelming and terrifying. Council members, he wrote, humans do not simply survive impossible situations through luck or determination. Their consciousness actively rewrites local reality to ensure their survival. They interface with quantum fields that we can only access through our most advanced technology. Each human mind is essentially a biological quantum computer, capable of processing information that exists outside our normal understanding of physics. He paused, then added the most frightening conclusion of all. The effect appears to be growing, stronger. As more humans spread across the galaxy, their collective unconscious influence on reality is increasing. We are not dealing with a dangerous species. We are witnessing the birth of a new form of existence that transcends our current understanding of life itself. Kate Morgan finished reading the last file in her stack. Hundreds of cases, all showing the same impossible pattern. Humans didn't just refuse to die, they made death refuse to take them. She looked out the window at Earth, visible in the distance, and realized that her entire species had become something beyond normal classification. They weren't dangerous, vessels carrying human consciousness. They were consciousness itself, learning to reshape reality with every heartbeat. Research Station Omega-7 hung in the darkness of space like a massive metal spider. Inside its laboratories, the most terrifying experiments in galactic history were about to begin. The Galactic Council had authorized unlimited testing to understand exactly what humans were capable of and how dangerous they truly were. Dr. Nick stood in the main laboratory watching as the first human test subject was brought in. The man's name was Michael Clark, a simple engineer who had been captured from a cargo ship. Michael looked scared but determined as he was led to a transparent chamber in the center of the room. Subject 1 will now be exposed to controlled atmospheric poisoning, Dr. Nix announced to the observation deck filled with alien scientists. The chamber contains a lethal concentration of methane gas. Death should occur within 3 minutes. Michael was sealed inside the chamber. The poisonous gas began to fill the space around him. The alien observers watched their instruments carefully, waiting for the inevitable. 3 minutes passed. Michael was still breathing normally. Impossible, whispered Dr. Vell from the observation deck. Check the gas composition. The readings were confirmed. The chamber was filled with enough poison to kill any known life form. But Michael stood calmly in the center, showing no signs of distress. "The gas is being neutralized," reported Dr. Zix, staring at his instruments in disbelief. "Somehow the toxic molecules are changing their structure when they reach the subject's respiratory system." 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 15 minutes passed. Michael remained perfectly healthy. "Get him out of there," Dr. Nix ordered, his voice shaking, "before we accidentally create something worse." When Michael was removed from the chamber, he seemed genuinely confused by all the excitement. "Was something supposed to happen?" he asked. "I felt fine the whole time. The air tasted a little funny, but that was all." The second test was even more disturbing. Lisa Parker, a medical technician, was brought into a radiation chamber. The levels of radioactive energy would normally kill any living being within minutes, causing massive cellular damage and organ failure. Subject 2 is now being exposed to 500 roentgens of gamma radiation, Dr. Nix announced. "This dose is immediately fatal to all known biological life." Lisa was placed in the chamber, and the radiation began. The scientists watched their scanners, in amazement as her cellular structure began to change in real time. "Her DNA is rewriting itself," Dr. Vell reported, his voice filled with awe and terror. "The radiation isn't destroying her cells. It's causing them to evolve immunity to radioactive damage." After an hour of exposure that should have killed her instantly, Lisa walked out of the chamber feeling perfectly normal. Blood tests showed that her body had somehow developed complete resistance to radiation poisoning. "How do you feel?" Dr. Nix asked her. "A little warm," Lisa replied with a shrug. "Like I've been sitting in sunlight. Actually, it was kind of pleasant." The third test subject was David Chen, a pilot who had never shown any particular intelligence or special abilities. He was given a mathematical problem so complex that the station's supercomputers would need several hours to solve it. The twist was that his life support system was connected to the solution. He had to solve it correctly, or die. Subject 3 has 30 minutes of air remaining, Dr. Nix announced. "The equation controls his oxygen supply. Only the correct answer will restore life support." David stared at the impossible mathematical formula displayed on the screen in his chamber, numbers and symbols that would challenge the greatest minds in the galaxy. He had never seen anything like it before. As his oxygen levels dropped and the chamber grew hot and stuffy, something extraordinary happened. David's eyes suddenly became focused and clear. His hands began moving across the input pad, entering numbers with complete confidence. "What is he doing?" Dr. Zix asked. "There's no way he can understand that equation." But David continued to work, his fingers flying over the controls. With only 2 minutes of air remaining, he entered his final answer. The life support system, immediately activated. Fresh, cool air flooded the chamber. "Check his solution," Dr. Vell ordered. The computers confirmed it. David had solved a level 10 quantum physics problem that should have been impossible for any individual to complete without massive computational assistance. When asked how he had done it, David looked just as surprised as everyone else. "I don't know," he said honestly. "The numbers just made sense. Like someone was telling me what to write down." Dr. Elena Brooks had been moved to the same station for her own testing. As a scientist herself, she was given a different type of experiment. She was placed in a room with 12 other humans and given a series of impossible survival scenarios. "Group Test Alpha," Dr. Nix announced. "Subjects are trapped in a sealed environment with limited resources. They have been given enough food and water for 3 days. The test will continue for 2 weeks. Elena looked around at her fellow test subjects. There was Tom Miller, the traitor she recognized from the detention facility. Steve Johnson, the former military officer. Martha, the older woman who talked about guardian angels. And 9 others she had never met before. "Well," said Tom, trying to stay positive, "I guess we better make these supplies last." But something amazing happened over the following days. The food never seemed to run out. Every time they checked their supplies, there was always just enough for another meal. The water containers refilled themselves overnight. When someone got sick, they recovered unusually quickly. "This is impossible," Elena told the group on the 7th day. "We should have run out of food days ago." Martha smiled knowingly. Maybe we're being taken care of. By who? Steve asked. By us, Elena replied, beginning to understand. By what we are. The alien scientists watching the group were documenting everything. Food appearing from nothing, water generating spontaneously, illnesses healing without medical treatment. The laws of physics were being casually ignored. Their survival probability was calculated at 0%, Dr. Vell reported to the Galactic Council via secure transmission, yet they continue to thrive. The group dynamic appears to amplify their reality-altering abilities exponentially. But the most terrifying discovery came during the final group test. 24 humans were placed in a chamber designed to be completely impossible to escape from. Solid walls, no doors, no windows, no tools of any kind. Escape test prime, Dr. Nix announced. The chamber is sealed with quantum locks that cannot be broken by any known technology. There is no possible way out. The humans were left alone for 6 hours. When the scientists returned to check on them, they found an empty chamber. All 24 humans had vanished. Where are they? Dr. Nix demanded, checking every scanner and sensor in the facility. Sir, came a panicked voice over the intercom. They're in the cafeteria, having lunch. The security footage showed the impossible truth. The humans had simply walked through solid walls as if they weren't there, not breaking them, not melting them, not finding secret passages, just stepping through matter like it was empty space. When questioned about how they had escaped, the humans gave answers that chilled the alien scientists to their cores. The wall felt thin, said one. I just pushed and it gave way, said another. We really wanted to get out, so we did, explained a third. Dr. Elena Brooks was the most articulate in her explanation. We didn't escape the chamber. We convinced reality that we were never trapped in the first place. Dr. Vell was putting together his final report on the experiments. The data was so disturbing that he had to read it 3 times to make sure he wasn't making mistakes. Council members, he wrote, humans do not simply bend the laws of physics, they rewrite them on demand. Their consciousness exists partially outside normal space-time, allowing them to access quantum fields that control the fundamental structure of reality. He included video footage of the tests, knowing that the council would hardly believe the written reports alone. The effect strengthens dramatically when humans work together toward a common survival goal. A single human can alter local probability. A group of humans can apparently alter the basic laws of matter and energy. Dr. Nix added his own observations to the report. Most disturbing of all, the humans are completely unaware of what they're doing. They don't know they're manipulating reality. To them, it feels natural and normal. They're unconsciously reshaping the universe around them with every breath. The experiments had answered the Galactic Council's questions, but the answers were more terrifying than anyone had imagined. Humans weren't just dangerous because they could survive impossible situations. They were dangerous because they could make impossible situations become possible. In her holding cell, Elena Brooks stared out at the stars and finally understood what her species had become. They weren't passengers in reality. They were reality's co-pilots, and they were just beginning to learn how to fly. The question now was whether the galaxy could survive humanity's flight lessons, or whether humanity would accidentally crash the entire universe while learning to control their incredible unconscious power. Dr. Vell transmitted his report to the Galactic Council with a single, final warning. We are no longer studying a dangerous species. We are studying the birth of gods who don't yet know their own power. The news of the experiment spread like wildfire through the secret networks of free humans scattered across the galaxy. What the Galactic Council had intended as research had become something much more dangerous, proof that humanity was far more powerful than anyone had imagined. Captain James Wright stood in the hidden asteroid base that had become the headquarters of the human resistance. Around him, holographic displays showed the locations of captured humans throughout galactic space. Thousands of his people were being held in detention facilities, research stations, and prison ships. They're not just studying us, James told the assembled group of resistance leaders. They're torturing us to understand what we can do. Commander Lisa Park, who had escaped from Europa Station during a convenient system malfunction, stepped forward. The reports from Omega-7 are worse than we thought. They're testing humans to destruction, trying to find our limits. And what did they find? Asked Tom Miller, who had broken out of his transport ship when all the locks mysteriously failed at the same time. That we don't have limits, Lisa replied grimly. At least not the kind they understand. The resistance had grown from a few, scattered groups into a coordinated network of ships, bases, and sympathizers. They called themselves the Prometheus Fleet, bringing fire to the gods who thought they could cage humanity. But the strangest thing about their rebellion was how successful it was becoming. Despite having inferior numbers and technology, every mission they attempted seemed to succeed through impossible coincidences. Steve Johnson was reporting on their latest rescue operation. We hit the prison transport detention yesterday. Our intel said it was heavily guarded by 12 warships. And? James prompted. 8 of the guard ships suffered engine failures just as we arrived. The other 4 had targeting computer malfunctions that made them shoot at empty space instead of us. We rescued all 47 humans without firing a single shot. Martha, the older woman who had become something of a spiritual advisor to the group, spoke up quietly. It's happening more often now. The universe is helping us. The universe doesn't take sides, Martha, said Rick, a young engineer who specialized in breaking alien computer systems. Doesn't it? Martha replied. Every time we need something, it appears. Every time we're in danger, our enemy's weapons malfunction. Every time we're trapped, doors open by themselves. Either we're the luckiest people in galactic history, or something bigger is going on. Dr. Elena Brooks had recently escaped from Research Station Omega-7 in what the aliens were calling an impossible security breach. She had simply walked out through 7 locked doors, past dozens of guards, and onto a shuttle that happened to be leaving at exactly the right moment. I've been thinking about what happened during the experiments, Elena told the group. The aliens kept saying we were altering reality. But what if we're not changing anything? What if reality was always like this, and we're just the first species that knows how to work with it instead of against it? Captain James Wright nodded thoughtfully. You mean we're not breaking the laws of physics? We're using laws that other species never discovered? Exactly, Elena replied. Every species in the galaxy thinks the universe is fixed and unchangeable. But what if it's actually fluid, responsive, alive? What if consciousness and reality are partners, not opponents? Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent communication from their scouts. Admiral Kate Morgan, who had broken out of Luna Station with several classified files, appeared on the main screen. James, we have a problem, Kate reported from her ship. The Galactic Fleet is mobilizing. They're not just trying to contain us anymore. They're planning to destroy every human settlement in the galaxy. The room fell silent. This was what they had all feared, that the aliens would decide humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to exist. How long do we have? James asked. Fleet Admiral Rax is leading a force of over 2,000 ships. They'll reach the Sol system in 6 days. Earth, home to 8 billion humans who had no idea their entire species had been classified as weapons of mass destruction. We have to warn them, Lisa said. We have to help them evacuate. Evacuate to where? Tom asked. The aliens control every habitable planet in the galaxy. Earth is the only home we have left. Steve Johnson stepped forward with a grim expression. Then we fight. Fight? Rick laughed bitterly. We have maybe 50 ships total. They have 2,000. How exactly do we fight that? It was Martha who answered, her voice calm and certain. The same way we've been fighting all along. We let the universe help us. Admiral Kate Morgan was analyzing the enemy fleet movements when something strange started happening to her instruments. This doesn't make sense, she muttered, running diagnostics on her scanner systems. Her first officer, a human named Paul, looked over her shoulder. What's wrong? The Galactic Fleet is reporting massive system failures. Engine problems, navigation errors, communication breakdowns. It's like their entire technology base is falling apart. On the flagship of the Galactic Fleet, Admiral Rax, was dealing with exactly those problems. His impressive armada was supposed to be the most advanced military force in galactic history. Instead, it was becoming a floating disaster. "Sir, the Vengeance reports complete engine failure," his communications officer announced. "The Retribution has lost all navigation systems. The Domination is requesting emergency assistance after their weapons exploded in their own launch tubes." "How many ships are still operational?" Rax demanded. "Approximately half, sir, and the number is dropping every hour." Rax stared at the tactical display in horror. Ship after ship was going dark or reporting critical malfunctions. It was as if the fleet was being sabotaged from within. "Could the humans have infiltrated our system somehow?" he asked his tactical officer. "Impossible, sir. Our security is absolute. Besides, the failures are random and different on every ship. No saboteur could cause this kind of chaos." What Admiral Rax didn't know was that every human in the Resistance was unconsciously focusing on the same desperate wish, that the fleet attacking their home would fail, and reality was listening. Meanwhile, the rescue operations were accelerating, beyond all logical possibility. Human ships that should have been easily captured were slipping through alien security like ghosts. Prison transports suffered convenient accidents that allowed their human prisoners to escape. Research stations experienced computer glitches that opened all the doors at once. Commander Robert Hayes was leading one of these rescue missions. His small ship had just extracted 30 humans from a maximum security facility on Titan Station. "How did we do it?" asked one of the rescued prisoners as they escaped into hyperspace. "We didn't do anything special," Robert replied honestly. "The guards were all called away for an emergency drill that apparently never existed. The computer systems crashed just as we arrived. The hangar doors opened by themselves when we needed to leave." Another rescued human, a scientist named Dr. Williams, was studying the scanner readings. "The statistical probability of all those things happening at exactly the right time is essentially zero. Then maybe probability isn't as fixed as we thought," Robert suggested. Back at the Resistance headquarters, Dr. Elena Brooks was making a disturbing discovery. She had been analyzing the pattern of their successes and the aliens' failures. "The effect is accelerating," she announced to the Leadership Council. "Every day, reality seems more responsive to human will. It's like our unconscious influence on the universe is growing stronger." "Is that good or bad?" James asked. "I don't know," Elena admitted. "But I think we're approaching some kind of tipping point. The question is, what happens when an entire species learns it can reshape reality just by wanting something badly enough?" The answer came sooner than anyone expected. News reports started flooding in from across the galaxy about impossible events happening wherever humans were present. On the mining world of Kepler 186f, human workers trapped in a mine collapse had somehow caused new tunnels to appear that led directly to the surface. On the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri, human scientists working on an unsolvable energy crisis had suddenly discovered that their experimental reactor was producing power levels that violated the laws of thermodynamics. On the colony ship New Horizons, human families facing starvation, when their food recyclers failed, had found their storage bays mysteriously refilled with fresh supplies. "It's happening everywhere," Kate reported to the Resistance leadership. "Every human in the galaxy is unconsciously altering reality to solve their problems. And the aliens are starting to panic," James added, reading intelligence reports from their spy networks. "Half the Galactic Council wants to negotiate with us. The other half wants to eliminate us before we accidentally destroy the universe." Dr. Elena Brooks looked up from her research with an expression of wonder and terror. What if they're both right? What if we're becoming something so powerful that we could save the galaxy or destroy it? The Galactic Fleet was now reporting that over 70% of their ships were unable to continue the mission due to mechanical failures. Admiral Rax was facing the most humiliating defeat in military history. Not by enemy action, but by the apparent rebellion of his own technology. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "I'm receiving reports that human ships are appearing throughout our formation. They're not attacking, they're just there, sitting in the middle of our fleet like they belong." "That's impossible," Rax replied. Our sensors would have detected them approaching. Sir, according to our logs, they didn't approach. They just appeared, as if they were always there and we just now noticed them. Admiral Rax realized with growing horror that he wasn't just fighting an enemy fleet. He was fighting an enemy that could apparently edit themselves into existence wherever they wanted to be. The war between humanity and the galaxy had taken a turn that no military strategist had ever imagined. The humans weren't winning through superior tactics or technology. They were winning because reality itself had apparently chosen sides. And the most terrifying part was that the humans still didn't seem to realize they were doing it. The moment of truth had arrived. The great chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with representatives from every species in known space, but all eyes were focused on the human woman standing at the center podium. Dr. Elena Brooks had requested permission to address the council directly, and after weeks of debate, they had finally agreed. Behind her, Captain James Wright stood with a delegation of human representatives. Around them, the chamber buzzed with nervous energy. Half the galaxy wanted to destroy humanity before they became too powerful. The other half was beginning to wonder if humanity might be the key to understanding the universe itself. Honored council members, Elena began, her voice carrying clearly through the vast space. You fear us because we are different. You have classified us as dangerous vessels, weapons of reality manipulation, threats to the natural order. But you are wrong about one thing. We are not here to destroy your reality. We are here to show you that reality was never as fixed as you believed. Ambassador Thek shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Dr. Brooks, your species has demonstrated the ability to alter the fundamental laws of physics at will. How can you claim this is not dangerous? Because, Elena replied, the laws of physics were never meant to be prisons. They were meant to be tools. Every species in this galaxy has spent millions of years accepting that the universe is unchangeable. But what if you were wrong? What if consciousness and reality were always meant to work together? Dr. Vell, the Vorthon physicist who had studied human brain patterns, stood up slowly. Dr. Brooks, are you suggesting that other species could learn to do what humans do naturally? I'm suggesting something far more wonderful than that, Elena said with a smile. I'm suggesting that you're already doing it. You just don't know how to recognize it. She gestured to the massive holographic display that appeared above the chamber, showing brain scans from dozens of different species. Dr. Vell, your own research shows quantum fluctuations in non-human consciousness. Dr. Nix, your studies of probability in alien societies show statistical anomalies that mirror human luck patterns. The difference isn't that humans can manipulate reality. The difference is that humans don't fight it. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Every species in this galaxy has been taught that the universe is separate from consciousness, Elena continued. You build machines to overcome physical limitations. You create technology to force reality to bend to your will. But humans learn to work with reality instead of against it. We don't force change. We invite it. Captain James Wright stepped forward. Council members, we didn't come here to threaten you. We came here to share something that could change everything for all of us. Share what? Demanded Admiral Rax, who had been forced to retreat with the remnants of his fleet. Evolution, James replied simply. Not just biological evolution, but consciousness evolution. The next step that every species can take. Dr. Elena Brooks activated another display, this one showing the recent events across the galaxy. Look at what's been happening since our classification as dangerous vessels. Reality has become more responsive everywhere, not just around humans. The universe itself is waking up. The evidence was undeniable. Alien scientists had been reporting impossible breakthroughs in their research. Engineers were solving problems that had stumped them for decades. Even the Council's own chambers had been experiencing beneficial malfunctions that improved their efficiency. The quantum fields that humans access naturally are available to everyone, Elena explained. We're not special. We're just the first species to accidentally discover that consciousness and reality are partners in creation, not opponents. Dr. Vell examined the data flowing across his personal scanner. The readings are extraordinary. It appears that human presence has been gradually increasing the quantum responsiveness of local space everywhere they go. You're making the universe more alive, Elena said to the alien scientists, more responsive to conscious intent, more willing to work with awareness instead of against it. Ambassador Thek raised all four of his arms. Dr. Brooks, even if what you say is true, how do we know this won't lead to chaos? If every species gains the ability to alter reality, won't that destroy the stability of existence itself? It was Martha, the older human woman who had become something of a spiritual guide to the resistance, who answered this question. Honored Ambassador, she said, stepping forward with a gentle smile. Have you ever seen a human child learn to walk? Thek looked confused. I do not understand the relevance. At first, the child falls down constantly, Martha explained. They seem clumsy and dangerous to themselves, but eventually they learn balance. They learn to work with gravity instead of fighting it. Walking becomes natural, automatic, safe. You're saying that humanity is learning to walk in a larger sense, Dr. Nix observed thoughtfully. I'm saying that all consciousness is learning to walk, Martha replied. Humans are just a little further along in the process. But like any child, learning to walk, we need others to help us stay balanced. The demonstration that followed changed everything. Elena had arranged for humans throughout the galaxy to focus their thoughts on a single, simple goal at exactly the same moment. Not to harm or destroy, but to create something beautiful for everyone to share. As the appointed time arrived, something extraordinary began happening throughout the galactic council chambers. Flowers began growing from the metal walls, not earth flowers, but blossoms that reflected the aesthetic preferences of every species present. The air filled with music that somehow sounded like each species' favorite melodies played simultaneously, yet in perfect harmony. The artificial gravity systems, which had always been slightly uncomfortable for species with different evolutionary backgrounds, suddenly adjusted themselves to be perfectly comfortable for everyone present. The lighting shifted to optimal levels for all types of vision. Even the temperature became perfectly pleasant for every biological type in the chamber. This is impossible, Dr. Vell whispered, but his voice carried wonder instead of fear. No, Elena said softly. This is what's possible when consciousness works together instead of against itself. The changes weren't limited to the council chambers. Reports were flooding in from across the galaxy of similar phenomena, hostile environments becoming more livable, complex problems solving themselves, ancient conflicts suddenly finding peaceful resolutions. The humans aren't dangerous vessels, Dr. Vell announced to the chamber, his voice filled with awe. They're consciousness evolution in action. They're showing us what we can all become. Ambassador Thek was quiet for a long moment, processing everything he had witnessed. When he finally spoke, his voice was thoughtful rather than fearful. If we accept this, if we acknowledge that humans represent a new form of existence, what happens next? Captain James Wright smiled. We learn together. We explore what consciousness can become when it's not limited by fear. We discover what the universe is really capable of when all its children work together instead of fighting each other. And the classification? Asked Dr. Nix. Do humans remain Class 7 dangerous vessels? Elena Brooks looked around the chamber at the impossible beauty that surrounded them. Flowers blooming from metal, music flowing from empty air, technology that had suddenly become perfectly suited to serve all life. Yes, she said finally. But we change what dangerous means. We're dangerous to limitation, dangerous to the belief that consciousness and reality must be enemies, dangerous to the idea that the universe is dead matter instead of living possibility. She paused, then added with a gentle smile, we're vessels, but we're not carrying human consciousness. We're carrying the future of consciousness itself. The vote that followed was unanimous. Humanity would remain classified as Class 7 dangerous vessels, but the meaning of that classification was transformed. They were dangerous only to old ways of thinking that limited what life could become. The new designation read, humans are dangerous vessels carrying the next phase of conscious evolution, All species are invited to learn from and work with them in exploring the partnership between awareness and reality. Dr. Elena Brooks stood in the observation deck of the Council Station, looking out at the stars. Around her, representatives from dozens of species were having their first lessons in what humans had accidentally discovered: how to invite reality to dance instead of trying to force it to obey. She thought about the journey that had brought them here, from fear and imprisonment to understanding and partnership. From being seen as threats to being welcomed as teachers, the universe was changing. Consciousness was evolving, and humanity had become the bridge between what was and what could be. In the distance, Earth shone like a blue jewel among the stars, home to 8 billion dangerous vessels who were about to discover that they had never been alone in their dance with reality. The age of separation between mind and matter was ending. The age of conscious partnership with existence itself was about to begin. And somewhere in the quantum fields that connected all things, the universe itself seemed to smile.